I've always cared about animals, and I just reached a point in my career where the job itself was lucrative. It was paying me well enough that I was missing something. My wife had been doing some volunteer work here and introduced me to it. I had been here before at the SPCA working with some of the larger dogs and really loved working with those guys. But when I got introduced to the wildlife, the whole mission of getting them well and getting them back out into the wild really appealed to me. And so I was able to discover so many things. Every day is a learning opportunity. My background is I come from the technology world, and so those skills have never really been anything that I've been able to apply here. But what I have been able to apply here is I grew up around animals. I grew up spending lots of time outdoors, and that passion, that love, there got to be something that I wasn't getting from my technology career that I really needed. And so I started volunteering here and becoming more and more involved in the care of the animals. One of the things that is something that might not be intuitive is education. We have a lot of people here who are interested in education, or are educators, they're teachers, or something along those lines. And one of their outlets is to be part of our education program, like what I do. For people who like to present, to educate, to help other people learn, that is a skill that might not be intuitive when you first think about wildlife rehabilitation, but it's one of the avenues that's important, because we do want to not only take care of the animals that come into us that need care, we also want to help people understand what they can go do so that the animals don't come in here in the first place. And human beings do have a huge impact on wildlife, on the health of wildlife, and by educating them, then maybe we'll see less animals coming in. We're always interested in having people with vet tech backgrounds, veterinary backgrounds, coming in. They provide great services for us, and this gives them an opportunity to work with some animals they might not have done historically. Most veterinarians that come out, they go into practice, either large animal here in Texas or small animal for residents and the like. But there's also a need for wildlife veterinarians to help with different kinds of conditions, and the kinds of injuries and illnesses and conditions that these animals find themselves in is going to be very different than those kinds of animals. So it's a unique skill set, and Texas A&M University has a program with us where they will, with us at the SPCA, where they will have their veterinarians come in for about 2 weeks in their last year of veterinary school, and they'll spend part of the day with the dogs and cats and the residential or the small animal veterinary, but then they'll come over here and work with the wild animals and get some exposure to that. It opens their eyes to some new things. And even if they're not going to practice veterinary wildlife, they're at least aware of it. They're aware of organizations like us, and it can help with the wild. But the triage is really going to be that emergency room kind of thing where they first come in when they're first in need of really help. And so there's a sense of paying very close attention to the animals that come in. And so, yeah, there is that. And we do have a surgical area in this building here, but we also then in one of the other buildings on the complex have a bigger surgical area. People who are doing things with, say, radiology, x-rays. Right. You know, we end up having animals that need x-rays. So the SPCA has staff that handles all of that. But really the biggest driver for this is having a love of animals, and then that in itself can translate in so many different ways. If you're considering a medical career versus a wildlife rehabilitator career, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Obviously, if you choose a medical career, that's going to take up the bulk of your time, especially early on in your career. But got to make money, and so there's nobody's paying for wildlife rehabilitation, so most of the wildlife rehabilitators are either having other sources of income, or they might work for larger organizations like the SPCA where they're getting paid, but they are small. That's a small number of folks. So jobs in the wildlife rehabilitation community are not nearly as common as they are in some other professions. So for a lot of people, this becomes much more of an avocation. It becomes something that they do on the side, if you will. And then as they get further on in their lives, maybe it's not a career, but it's something that provides them some fulfillment in a different area. Under normal circumstances, by that I mean non-COVID times, we start every year beginning in February taking in volunteers.
So it's of all ages.
And every 16 years is the minimum age, and then beyond that, there is no maximum. And so people come in and they dedicate as much time as they have, as much as they want. Some people come in, get to see things, maybe spend a few weeks here, and that sort of scratches the itch for them. Other people will come in here and be here for different parts of the season. Like when we have squirrels, they really love small mammals, and they want to help the squirrels, they want to help the rabbits, and so they're here when we're busy there, and then they don't come the rest of the year, and they come back the next year. But we do also have people that come in that really gravitate towards this and enjoy the variety and sort of the different seasons that we get here, and are here constantly, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 1 day a month, whatever they're able to do time-wise. 10 years now.
10 years?
10 years, yep. So we have some volunteers here who have been here 15 years. Our permitted wildlife rehabilitators have been doing this 35, 40 years. So if you've got that passion for it, you just will do it and keep on doing it. I'm sure many people say that had I known this was out there many, many years ago, I might have made some different career choices, even if it wouldn't have been going in specifically to wildlife rehabilitation, just to line myself up maybe to do some of those things a little bit differently. So yeah, there's always that. So it's sometimes just awareness.